telling him, I recently I moved out of one space. I moved out of Pennsylvania to East Limelight down to the West Coast. I had to travel away from Pennsylvania to come up, and I had to go through the house and stuff like that, all that stuff.
الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, today marks the 17th day of the month of Safar of the year 1443 in Al-Hijri, coinciding with what is also the 24th of the month of September of the year 2021 in Al-Damani, as we continue our readings and our contemplations upon the topic and the work that is entitled Qasasul Anbiya, that is entitled Stories of the Prophets, as has been authored by Abu al-Fida Ismail ibn Kathir. May Allah the Exalted bestow expansive mercy upon his soul as he passes away in the year 774 in Al-Hijri. In previous discussion, we have now entered into the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, Prophet Joseph alayhi salam, and we have followed his life from his early years and his upbringing into slavery, into being raised in a governmental and political household, into prison, and now he becomes a politician himself and has a leading seat in the governmental body of northeastern Africa of the day, of Egypt of the day. And as we move forward now, Allah the Glorious, he has stated, and the king said, bring him to me, that I may attach him to my person. Then when he spoke to him, he said, verily this day you are with us, high in rank and fully trusted. Yusuf alayhi salam is now exited from incarceration. He is now facing the king directly. Yusuf said, set me over the storehouses of the land. I will indeed guard them with full knowledge. Thus do we give full authority to Yusuf in the land, to take possession therein, when or where he likes. We bestow our mercy on whom we will, and we do not make the reward of the good doers to be lost. And verily, the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and used to fear Allah and keep their duty to him. When the chastity and innocence of Yusuf alayhi salam became clear to the king, he said, bring him to me, that I may attach him to my person. What he meant was, I will make him one of my special close people from among the notables and high status men. Then when he spoke to Yusuf and heard what he had to say, he became impressed and said, verily this day you are with us, high in rank and fully trusted. The Quran quotes Yusuf saying, he, Yusuf, said, set me over the storehouses of the land. I will indeed guard them with full knowledge. Meaning now this is the seat, the governmental seat, as the Minister of Commerce and Agriculture. Yusuf alayhi salam requested the king to appoint him in charge of the country's storehouses, wherein food is stored. He sought this because he feared that others might not be able to handle the famine properly. He wanted to take care of it according to what will please Allah, of kindness to people and being careful to them. Yusuf described himself to the king as being good at managing and administrating of what is within his hands. This verse is evidence showing the permissibility of seeking power and control by the one who knows himself to be trustworthy and competent. Meaning, generally, throughout our faith, we are encouraged to remain humble. And in our seeking out humility, for example, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned, "Ma min ahadin tawada'a lillah illa rafa'ahu Allah." There was no one who humbles himself for the sake of Allah, except that Allah will raise him in status. Yet, Yusuf alayhi salam is stating exactly who he is, what he has the ability to do, and it's electing himself. He's nominating himself for this governmental seat uh, to directly to the king, to the political leader of the entire country. And Yusuf alayhi salam is not stating this from the standpoint of arrogance. He is stating this from the standpoint of fact, that it is a fact that he is the best one suited for this particular he is the best one suited for this particular job. So in this instance, it is actually allowable for Yusuf alayhi salam to state this, and in it being allowable for him, it also becomes allowable for us when there is a need for us to do so. The people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, said regarding this that the king admired Yusuf alayhi salam and thus put him in charge of the entire land of Egypt. He also gave him his ring, made him to wear silk, put a gold chain around his neck, and took him around in his other means of transport, meaning we would state today luxury vehicles and such. His people yelled out in front of him, "You are our master. You are our king." The king then said to Yusuf, "I am not greater than you, except in terms of the throne." This is the king's statement to Yusuf, showing his humility and appreciation toward Yusuf alayhi salam. They said that Yusuf alayhi salam at that time was 30 years old, and the king married him with a woman of high status and rank. Jazakallah khairan. It is said that when the minister died, the king married his wife, Zuleika. And she happened to be a virgin because her former husband was impotent. She gave birth to two sons called Ephraim and Mensa. Yusuf alayhi salam ruled the people of Egypt with justice, and the people, men and women, loved him. It is said that when Yusuf alayhi salam met the king, he was only 30 years old. The king then addressed him using 70 languages, and Yusuf replied to each one. This is showing high-level cognitive abilities. This impressed the king greatly, especially since Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was so young. Allah said, "And thus we firmly established Yusuf in the land with authority to do therein as he pleased." This refers to the stage after coming out of prison, incarceration, hardship, and trials. He then became virtually the ruler of all of Egypt. Wherever he went, he was honored. Allah said, "We bestow our mercy on whomever we please, and we leave not to waste the reward of the good doers. And surely the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and are always pious." Muhammad ibn Ishaq said that the king of Egypt, Walid ibn Rayyan, accepted Islam on the hand of Yusuf alayhi salam. And Allah knows best. And Allah knows best. There is your name that you were looking for. Walid ibn Rayyan. And Allah knows best. Allah the glorious, he said, "And the brothers of Yusuf came and met him, recognized them, but they did not know him. And when he had given them with their provisions, he said, 'Bring to me the brother you have from your father. Do you not see how I give full measure, and I'm the best of hosts? But if you do not bring him to me, you will not get any provision from me, and you will come near me.' They said, 'We will try to get permission from his father, and verily we will do it.' And Yusuf told his servants to put the money into their bags, so that they may not know it when they return to their family, so that they come back." Okay, what's happening here? This is now the beginning of Yusuf alayhi salam reuniting with his family. Now he's reuniting with his brothers, but they haven't seen him since he was a young child. And now he is 30 plus years old, a grown man, and now he is the ruler over the land, right? De facto ruler, as it were. The king is still present, but the king has him in the top position directly under him at this point in time. So now when his brothers come, they know Yusuf alayhi salam in the governmental position of minister, but they don't know him as their brother. And what Yusuf is saying, bring to me your other brother from your father. He's referring to his brother from the same mother. He's referring to Benjamin, his brother Benjamin, that he wants them to bring to him because this is the brother that he was closest to. He wants to reunite with him. Okay. Also, what he does, he utilizes leverage because they need provisions from him. So he utilizes the food and the provisions as such to assure that they follow through with his command. Also, we see that he places money and gold and such into their bags for a reason that we're going to see very shortly, inshallah. In these verses, Allah informs that the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam came to him when the famine came and spread to everyone. This is the famine that the king was having dreams about, that Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted for the king. It was ahead of time. It was forecasting. It was prophecy, but now we're actually in that. This was at a time when Yusuf alayhi salam was the ruler of Egypt, both for religious and worldly affairs. So now he is ascended even higher. Again, now he is directly under the king, no longer limited to being the minister of economy, right? The minister of commerce and agriculture. When they, Yusuf's brothers, entered, he recognized them, but they did not recognize him because it never occurred to them that Yusuf could be in such a position of high status and power. The part of the verse, and when he had given them their provisions, this means when he gave each of them a camel load, as was customary in those days. As regards the part, he said, Yusuf, bring to me the brother you have from your father. Shows that he had already inquired about them and how many siblings there were. They replied that there were 12 brothers in total. One had gone, while another is still remaining with the father. That's Benjamin. So Yusuf alayhi salam asked them to bring to him that last remaining brother when they come back next year for more food. As regards to the part, do you not see how I give full measure and I'm the best of hosts? This means, do you not see how I was good to you and provided you what you wanted? This was to motivate them to come back the following year. He then changed the tone of his speech and warned them of the consequences if they do not do as asked, and said, but if you do not bring him to me, you will not have any provision from me, and you will not come near me. Again, you will not come near me, correcting myself from earlier. What he meant by this is that in such a case, I will not give you what you want, and I will not be good to you. Rather, he will be the opposite of how he was to them the first time. They then said that they will try hard to bring their brother with them next year, and said, we will try to get permission from his father, and surely we will do it. They're stating this because their father, right, who their father now is who? Prophet Yaqub, Prophet Jacob, he was very adamant about Yusuf alayhi salam and Benjamin, Joseph and Benjamin not leaving its side. Yet he allowed the brothers to take Yusuf, and then Yusuf was lost. So then Yaqub became even more tight-fisted with Benjamin because he definitely didn't want to lose him, and has continued to be this way with his son since because he doesn't want to lose another son. Yusuf alayhi salam then ordered his servants to return their money and merchandise, which they had brought to buy their food, and to put them secretly back in their luggage. He said, so that they may know it when they go back to their family, in order that they come back. There are numerous explanations for his action of putting money in their bags secretly. It is said that he did this in case, if they did not want to come back, then they might at least come back to return the money. A second opinion says that he feared they may not have enough money to come back next year. In a third opinion, it says that he felt ashamed to take money from his own brothers for their food. Allah the Glorious has said, so when they returned to their father, they said, O our father, no more measure of grain will we get unless we take our brother, Benjamin. So send our brother with us, and we will get our measure, and truly we will guard him. He said, Yaqub, can I entrust him to you, except as I entrusted his brother, Yusuf, to you aforetime? But Allah is the best to God, and he is the most merciful of those who show mercy. And when they opened their bags, they found their money had been returned to them. They said, O our father, what more can we desire? This is our money. It has been returned to us. So we will get more food for our family, and we will guard our brother and add one more measure of a camel's load. That will be an easy provision. He said, Yaqub, I will not send him with you until you swear a solemn oath to me in Allah's name that you will bring him back to me unless you are yourselves surrounded by enemies. Meaning, swear against yourself in front of Allah that you will guard my son and he will remain safe. And when they had sworn their solemn oath, he said, Allah is the witness to what we have said. And he said, Yaqub, O my sons, do not enter by one gate, but enter by different gates, meaning into Africa, right, back into Egypt. And I cannot avail you against Allah at all. Verily, the decision rests only with Allah. In him I put my trust, and let all those who trust put their trust in him. And when they entered according to their father's advice, it did not avail them in the least against the will of Allah. It was only a need of Yaqub's inner self, which he discharged. And verily, he was endowed with knowledge because we had taught him, meaning Allah taught him. But most men do not know. In these verses, Allah mentioned what happened when they returned back to their father. They said that they would be deprived of any further provisions from next year if their father does not send their brother with them. So if he sent their brother, they will not be deprived. Allah said, and when they opened their bags, they found their money had been returned to them. They said, our father, what more can we desire? What they meant was, we got our food and we also got our money returned to us. So they have free provisions. There is no reason why we should not go there with our brother. We will get more food for our family. We will take care of our brother and add one more camel's load, and that will be an easy provision. So it's like free food and free money. And then they take that same money back and then go buy more. This is what they're thinking. What they meant was that just by letting our brother go with us, we will increase the amount of food we bring back. Since we will receive an extra camel load for him too. Now, mind you, they're experiencing the famine now. So now they have to ration out food in accordance with the needs of the people. So what they're saying is, if we bring Benjamin, then this will mean that we need more food for our family, and they'll release more food to us from the food storage. After the disappearance of Yusuf, his father Yaqub alayhi salam did not used to let Benjamin go out because he used to smell the fragrance of Yusuf alayhi salam in him and get comfort from him. Mind you, Yaqub alayhi salam, he is now weak so much that he become blind due to his sadness over losing Yusuf alayhi salam. He became more precious due to the absence of Yusuf. For this reason, he said to them, Yaqub, I will not send him with you until you swear a solemn oath to me in Allah's name that you will bring him back to me unless you are yourselves surrounded by enemies. The only exception he gave them was if they were all unable to come back. The verse goes on. And when they had sworn their solemn oath, he said, Yaqub, Allah is the witness to what we have said. Yaqub alayhi salam made the covenant he took from his sons stronger by making them swear an oath, and then made Allah a witness to what they said. However, no amount of precaution and warning can avail from the decree of Allah. If the people in that area and his family were not in need for food, he would never have sent his son with them. However, Allah's decree has wisdom, and he decrees what he wills and chooses what he wants. He also rules as he wishes, and he is the all-wise, the all-knowing. Yaqub alayhi salam then ordered for his sons to not enter the city through one gate, but instead to divide themselves and enter through varying gates. It is said that he did not want any of them to be inflicted by the evil eye. This is because they were handsome and had good appearance. This opinion was expressed by Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, Muhammad ibn Ka'b, Qatada, Al-Suddi, and Al-Dhahak. May Allah bestow mercy upon all of their souls. According to others, he wanted his sons to spread out, hoping that they might get news of Yusuf alayhi salam. This is the opinion of Ibrahim an-Nak'i. However, the first opinion seems to be more plausible and more apparent because he said, and I cannot avail you against Allah at all. Allah said, and when they entered according to their father's advice, it did not avail them in the least against the will of Allah. It was only a need of Yaqub's inner self, which he discharged. And verily he was endowed with knowledge because we had taught him. But most men do not know. Most men don't have knowledge. It is mentioned in the books of the Jews and the Christians, meaning the Israelite narrations, that Yaqub alayhi salam sent with his son some gifts for the king in the form of pistachio nuts, almonds, spices, honey, and balm. They also took with them the money that was returned the first time, as well as other things. Allah the Glorious said, and when they went in before Yusuf, he took his brother to himself and said, verily, I'm your brother, so do not grieve for what they used to do. Now Yusuf, they've all come now. So now Yusuf embraces his brother Benjamin, brings him close, and then tells him from where the others cannot hear what he has said. So when he had furnished them with their provisions, he put the bowl in his brother's bag. Then a crier called out, "O you in the caravan, you are surely thieves." They turned toward him and said, "What is it that you have lost?" They said, "We have lost the bowl of the king. Whoever produces it will have a reward of a camel load, and I will be bound by it." They said, the brothers, "By Allah, verily you know that we did not come to make mischief in the land, and we are not thieves." They said, Yusuf's servants, "What then will be the penalty of him if you are proven liars?" They said, the brothers, his penalty should be that he in whose bag it is found should be held for the punishment of crime. Thus we punish the wrongdoers. So now all of this is showing the level of Yusuf alayhi salam's intelligence, because he has set up this entire platform in this way, and he's just watching it play out now. So he began the search. So now Yusuf does the search himself because he knows. Okay. He began to search their bags before the bag of his brother. Then he brought it out from his brother's bag. Thus did we plan for Yusuf. He could not take his brother by the law of the king, except that Allah willed it. We raise to degrees whom we will, but over all those who are endowed with knowledge is the all-knowing Allah. Fawqa kulli dhi ilmin alim. Above everyone who possesses knowledge is one that is more knowledgeable than them. And ultimately, Allah is above all in his omniscience, in his knowledge. They said, the brothers, if he steals, there was a brother of his who did steal before. But Yusuf kept these things within himself, not revealing the secrets to them. He said within himself, to himself, you are in the worst case, and Allah is the best knower of that which you describe. They said, O ruler of the land, he has an old father who will grieve him. So take one of us in his place. Indeed, we think that you are among the righteous. He said, they're seeking to appease him. He said, Allah forbid that we should take but him with whom we found our property. Indeed, if we did so, we should be unjust. In these verses, Allah mentioned what happened when the brothers went to Yusuf alayhi salam with his brother Benjamin. Yusuf alayhi salam took his brother aside and told him that he was his brother. He asked him to conceal this news and also asked him what ill treatment he faced at the hands of his brothers in past years. Then Yusuf alayhi salam devised a plan to keep Benjamin in Egypt with him and stop him from going back with his brothers. He wanted to spend time with his beloved brother Benjamin. He ordered his servants to place his cup into the sack of Benjamin. He used that cup for drinking and also for measuring the amount of food to give people. Then Yusuf alayhi salam sent some of his people to tell the brothers that the king's cup was stolen and promised to give the reward of a camel load to whoever produced it. The brothers questioned the king's servants regarding what the problem was, and then informed them that they did not come to Egypt here to make any problems. They didn't come to make mischief. They said, by Allah, I swear by Allah, you know that we do not come to make mischief in the land, and we are not thieves. What they meant was that you all are well aware that we are not what you are accusing us of, which is the crime of stealing. Allah then quoted the king's servants as saying, what then shall be the penalty of him if you are proven liars? They said, the brothers, the penalty should be that he in whose bag it is found should be held for the punishment. Thus we punish the wrongdoers. This was the way according to their sharia, according to their law, the law of Yusuf alayhi salam during his time there in Africa, wherein the thief is to be handed over to the one that he stole from. Okay. And as we know, Allah Ta'ala adjusts the laws in accordance with the people in time and place until the seal of the laws, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ comes with the finality of law, and that is our legislation. Allah the Almighty, the All-High then said, so he began the search in their bags, Yusuf, before the bag of his brother. Then he brought it out from his brother's bag. He began from the bags of his brothers first because it would have dispelled any suspicion of pre-planning to frame them, so that they don't perceive it as being premeditated. Allah then said, thus do we plan for Yusuf. He could not take his brother by the law of the king. If the brothers had not said that the penalty of the thief should be to keep the thief back, then Yusuf alayhi salam would not have been able to keep Benjamin from traveling back with them. However, Allah had willed for him otherwise, and thus said, unless that Allah had willed it, we raise to degrees whom we will. This is referring to raising in ilm, to raising in knowledge. The verse finishes off as, but every possessor of knowledge, there is one more knowing above him. This is referring to how Yusuf was more knowledgeable and wiser. However, he did what he did in order to keep his brother because of the order from Allah, since it had a greater goal to it, which was the arrival of his father and family, along with all of the people together in one setting. When the brothers saw with their own eyes that the cup was in the bag of Benjamin, they said, if he steals, there was a brother of his who did steal before. They were talking about Yusuf alayhi salam because it is said that he stole the idols of his maternal grandfather and broke it. To some others, it is suggested that he used to take food from his house and feed the poor. Allah the Exalted, the Almighty said, but Yusuf kept these things within himself, not revealing the secrets to them. The thing that he hid within himself and did not reveal to his brothers is mentioned in the next part of the verse. You are in the worst case, and Allah is the best knower of what you describe. He did not say it openly because he wanted to show courtesy and forgiveness. At that, the brother started begging for consideration and said, O ruler of the land, verily he has an old father who will grieve for him. So take one of us in his stead. Indeed, we think that you are among the righteous. He said, Yusuf, Allah forbid that we should take anyone but him with whom we found our property. Indeed, if we did so, we should be among the wrongdoers. What he meant was, we will be among the wrongdoers if we take the innocent into custody and release the guilty. This is something we do not do, and thus we will only take the person in whose bag we found our cup. Yusuf is just steps ahead of them. Allah the Glorious said, so when they despaired of him, they held a conference in private. The eldest amongst them said, do you all know that your father did take an oath from you in Allah's name? And before this, you did fail in your duty with Yusuf. Meaning, don't forget, this happened before, now it's happening again. Therefore, I will not leave this land until my father permits me, or Allah decides my case, and he is the best of judges. Return to your father and say, O our father, verily your son Benjamin has stolen, and we testify not except according to what we know, and we could not know the unseen. And ask the people of the town where we have been in the caravan in which we returned, and indeed we are telling you the truth. He said, Yaqub, no, but your own selves have beguiled you into something. So patience is most fitting for me. May Allah bring them back all to me. Truly, he only is the all-knowing, the all-wise. And he turned away from them and said, alas, my grief for Yusuf. And he lost his sight because of the sorrow that he was suppressing. Meaning that mental health is a real thing, even amongst the prophets. And we take example from them and how they dealt with such matters. And we seek to treat ourselves as they would also seek to treat themselves. They said, by Allah, you will never cease remembering Yusuf until you become weak with old age, or until you be of the dead. He said, I only complain of my grief and sorrow to Allah. And I know from Allah that which you do not know. So Yaqub alayhi salam, he is a prophet himself. So he is employing a much higher level of practice in Tawheed, of practice in monotheism, and placing his tawakkul, his trust and reliance upon Allah. O my sons, go and inquire about Yusuf and his brother, and never give up hope of Allah's mercy. Certainly, no one despairs of Allah's mercy except the people who disbelieve. Allah informs us in these verses that when the brothers despaired of taking their brother back with them, they got together in private and talked about what steps should be taken next. The eldest brother, Rubiel, he said, don't you know that your father took an oath from you in Allah's name? What he meant was that this oath was to bring him back to their father at all costs, unless they become helpless themselves. And it seems throughout this discourse that at this juncture, the brothers genuinely feel remorse for what they did when they were younger. And it appears that they genuinely repented from that, and Allah knows best. So now you are unable to fulfill this oath. You have been negligent with this brother as you were with Yusuf alayhi salam. Thus, I cannot face my father. Therefore, I will not leave this land until my father permits me, or Allah decides my case, and he is the best of judges. What he meant was, I will not go back to our father until he tells me to come back, or if Allah enables me to bring back my brother to his father. He then asked them to go back and inform their father of what occurred and what they saw. He said to them, return to your father and say, O our father, your son has stolen, and we testify not except according to what we know, and we could not know the unseen. And ask the people of the town where we have been, and the caravan in which we returned, and indeed we are telling them the truth. So the brothers are saying now, because they feel so bad, this time we actually didn't do anything wrong, right? Please believe us. This is their plea at this point in time. The meaning of this is that the story we have told you is known and famous, and this is a famous story in Egypt now, right? It's in the media. People know about this. So you can ask them or ask the caravan in which we returned back, since they all know. We are truthful in what we are saying. However, Yaqub alayhi salam did not believe them, because stealing is not from the nature of Benjamin, nor is it something that suits his good character. So he said, no, but your own selves have beguiled you into something. So patience is most fitting for me. Then he continued and said, maybe Allah will bring them all back to me, referring to Yusuf alayhi salam, Benjamin, and Rubiel. Truly, he only is all-knowing, all-wise, meaning only he is knowledgeable concerning my situation and what I'm feeling. being away from my beloved children. And he is the all wise in whatever he decrees and does. And he has great wisdom and reasons behind whatever he does. And he turned away from them and said, Alas, my grief for Yusuf. What he meant was that my grief, or this new grief for Yusuf, has added and brought back my previous grief, right? And this is how we are with trauma. We have triggers. And when we undergo a trigger, it then will bring back the feelings of old or the previous experience. So it's as though he's going through this all again. And one of the lessons that we see here, and what Yaqub is striving to do, he is striving to allow the feelings to naturally pass through him, and he's not necessarily seeking to hold on to them. Right? This is a prophetic lesson we learn in dealing with challenge and trauma and such. Due to the crying that he used to do often, he lost his eyesight. He became blind. He used to suppress his grief and had sorrow at the situation and how much he missed Yusuf. So then he knew that he was experiencing grief. He knew that he was experiencing depression, but he wasn't trying to keep himself in that state. He was seeking to control it, seeking to suppress it and get himself back into a normal flow. And what we also understand from this is the fact that even though he was experiencing emotional trauma, he was not going to allow the emotional trauma to come between him and the rights that Allah has over him in his worship of Allah, the glorious. When his sons saw the suffering and pain of their father due to his separation from some of his children, they said, By Allah, you will never cease remembering Yusuf until you become weak with old age or until you become among the dead. Meaning, you're going to become so depressed, you may die from a broken heart. They said this to their father out of mercy and care for him. What they meant was, you will keep remembering Yusuf alayhi salam until you become old and weak. Meaning, the mental can have an impact upon the physical. Stress can kill. So if you cease to do that, it will be better for you and your body. But his reply to them was that he was not complaining of anything to them or to any other person. Rather, he complained to Allah, the one that controls all matters and the one that can bring resolution to this challenge. The Quran quotes, he said, meaning Yaqub, I only complain of my sorrow and grief to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you do not. What he meant by this is that Allah will open a door for me. I also know that the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam has come true, and that I and you all will have to bow to him according to what he saw in his dream. What did Yusuf alayhi salam see in his dream? He saw the stars and the sun and the moon prostrating to him, 12 in number, right? Or the number of his brothers and his mother and father on top of that, we should say, right? So then now 11 stars and his son and his father and mother as the sun and the moon. He then tried to motivate his brothers into searching for Yusuf and his brother and to find out what the situation is with both of them. Thus he said to them, O my sons, go and inquire about Yusuf and his brother, and never give up hope of Allah's mercy. Certainly no one despairs of Allah's mercy except the people who disbelieve. That is, do not despair of the mercy of Allah, because only the disbelievers despair of Allah's mercy, and that Allah takes a person out of hardship. Allah the Glorious said, Then when they went to him, Yusuf, they said, the brothers, O ruler of the land, a hard time has hit us and our family, and we have brought but poor capital. So pay us full measure and be charitable to us. We don't have enough money to give you this time to pay you for the food, but please give us the same amount because we need it. So please overlook this. Truly, Allah does reward the charitable. He said, this is Yusuf now, do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant, right? Meaning when you were young and dumb, right? Okay. They said, are you indeed Yusuf? He said, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother Benjamin. Allah has indeed been gracious to us. Verily, He who fears Allah with obedience to him and is patient, then surely Allah makes not the reward of the good doers to be lost. They said, by Allah, indeed Allah has preferred you above us, and we certainly have been sinners. He said, no reproach on you this day. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of those who show mercy. Go with this shirt of mine and cast it over the face of my father. He'll become clear-sighted, and bring me all of your family. Now, this is interesting because of the fact that we clearly see Allah has rearranged the table. And now Yusuf alayhi salam, he is in the seat of power over his brothers as they were in power over him when he was younger. But the same way that they had no mercy on him when he was younger, now Yusuf alayhi salam does have mercy on them. And he even comes bearing gifts. He is a prophet and he comes with miracles. And from his miracles, take this shirt, place it on your father's face, and his sight will return back to him. And now Yusuf is requesting the entire of the family to come forth. So inshallah ta'ala, in our next sitting, we will look into the exegesis of these verses, and we will come to a conclusion in the life and times of Yusuf alayhi salam. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد. It is almost time for the iqamah, and we are also in need of the adhan. But perhaps alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah, we can take a question or two before we close. Questions? That was a lot, I know. Yes.
I don't like how the author is saying when these guys is coming into Egypt for food and supplies or material, and they're gonna come back next year. I think they come back every month probably, because people have a tendency to run out of food quick. I mean, you got 12 kids, 12 boys to feed. You're gonna run out of food within a month, to me. So I don't think the author is correct with that yearly coming back every year. And plus, every year you're gonna forget what your purpose is, as far as they have some strings to deal with in Egypt, and you say you're coming back, you forget things. So I kind of didn't like that.
Forget the grocery list, huh?
Yeah.
Well, when we have time, inshallah, let's review the Quranic verses and see what Allah says.
Okay, and another thing, so when the Israelites do go into Egypt, do Isaac is Joseph, right? What's
Yusuf.
Yusuf.
Mm-hmm.
Yusuf is Joseph. I mean, Jacob is Isaac.
Yaqub.
Jacob, yeah, okay, Yaqub, because he's old. He's very old.
At this point, Allah knows best his age, but he definitely is older.
So, but does he die in Egypt?
Allah knows best.
Okay, because it seemed like from my research, all that generation, all those children who goes into Egypt, and they was in Egypt for over 100 years, but yet they all die in Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like that generation should have died in
Egypt
and not Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the next generation with Musa,
mm-hmm.
and Musa's generation leaving out
mm-hmm.
of Egypt, but that generation of Musa's uncles
mm-hmm.
and his grandfather,
mm-hmm.
they should have been buried in somewhere in Egypt,
mm-hmm.
according to the age and the numbers and
right.
the years. But
right. Well, definitely what we do know is that Yaqub alayhi salam is responsible for the Levantine region, right? He's responsible for what becomes what we call Palestine, right? And beyond, ancient Syria. He's responsible for that region and the people of, right? So would he have abandoned that post that he had and then stay in Egypt permanently until he passes away? Allah knows best. Allah knows best. But I do not know at present where Yaqub alayhi salam passed away.
It's in Hebron. I just read it. His burial place is in Hebron, which is in the West Bank.
So then that would indicate that he's back in his region where he was from. So at some point he went back to his post. Allah knows best.
And one more question,
sir.
Because in your reading, you mention Allah a lot, as though Allah is helping Yusuf do this and this. I guess the scheme of things, because they're trying to get Yaqub and all of those Israelites into Egypt, because Egypt is that time fertile. So the system worked. What they was trying to do, Allah and Yusuf, boom, they in Egypt. But why does Allah allow them to be slaves?
Maybe we can get to paradise. We can ask the question. I'm not going to challenge that one. But questions from our brothers, our sisters who are present with us at this time? I'm off the hook. Barakallahu.